If you have the right attitude and you adjust, like you're saying, if you can adjust and are willing to be flexible, then you'll get yourself on the right path.
Welcome to your Break Free podcast, where we review the lives of amazing entrepreneurs that are living a life of freedom and that is taking a lot of time to get there. It is my pleasure to have with us Manny Padro, which is one example of incredible entrepreneurship, sacrifice, and achievement. Manny, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to it.
So let's begin with your full name. Where do you live, and what do you do for a living?
Well, my full name is Manuel Padro, and currently my family and I have been living in Salt Lake City, Utah, in that area since about 1981. And but I was originally raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, back east. We've been to quite a few places and seen some different things, and so it's been good.
That's beautiful. What took you to Salt Lake City? Because from Pennsylvania, it's quite a way.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I graduated from Penn State University, so it's right in the central Pennsylvania, and I wanted to come out west and work during the summer months, taking on positions with the National Park Service. And so one of the areas that I applied for was Dinosaur National Monument in Utah and Colorado. It's in both states. And so, that's what got me out here initially. And I just feel real comfortable here. It's just been a real good fit.
So how long have you been there then?
Let's see, 1981 was the first time I came out, and have been here ever since. And I still go back east to see my family back there and visit with some friends, but it's mostly just being out here.
So I guess you really like it.
Well, we got the great outdoors. This is the only place I know where you can ski in the morning, and then in the afternoon you could be hiking in the desert. And so, yeah, it's just pretty neat. It's pretty awesome.
That's wonderful. Let's go back to your years of university. Already I started talking a bit about that. What prompted you to get the career that you wanted to get?
Well, it's interesting because my family's predominantly blue collar workers, and so I came from an environment that was very set in its mind, but I didn't have any of the skill sets. I couldn't understand how to do the things that my brothers and my dad were doing. And so college for me was more of a default. And I was pretty open-minded. I knew I wanted to work outdoors and work with the National Park Service. So that's what initially got me started. And applied for a few places and just fell in love with the campus at Penn State and had great 4 years there.
That's beautiful. What did you work during college or not?
I had to work, yes, because I was able to get a grant and also a little bit of a scholarship. But then I also had to work as well because my family didn't have the financial means to help me to be able to just focus on studying.
Which breaks the first limiting belief, right? A lot of kids nowadays, they think that they should have everything provided to go to school, and it's not true, right?
Oh, correct. It wasn't for me. And I know I have a lot of friends that were the same way, that they had to figure out how to get through that part of life with what resources they could, use.
When I came to Canada, I was already a graduate of computer science, but back in 1992, 93, they wouldn't hire anybody that had a foreign degree. So I went back to college, but I already had a kid and a baby, and I also had a wife.
Right.
So, I did it at night, evenings and summers. I had a full-time job, and then at 5 p.m. I will start college until midnight.
Yep.
And in the summers, I will take some time off work, and I will just do full-time summer school.
Right.
I did it in 4 years.
Right. And it's interesting because nowadays, especially in Utah, you could get your first 2 years of college done before you actually go to college. And so you can start out as a junior and only have to really spend 2 years in there. And I didn't know that option existed when I was going to school.
Right. So everything is easier, right? Everything is becoming more available as the information age keeps
Exactly.
progressing.
Oh, absolutely. Because I remember when I was in college, a professor talking about we're moving from this age that we're in now into information age. And that meant nothing to me. I didn't understand the difference between where we were and where we were going. And so, yeah, there's a lot of learning to do there.
For sure. Brother, what did you do right after college? Did you get a job? What a job did you get?
Yeah. As soon as while I was during the summer months, I worked at different places, different summers. My first 2 summers I spent working for actually the state of Pennsylvania, but it was in inner city Philadelphia. And the low income neighborhoods, the children were getting food during the summer months for breakfast and lunch because they didn't have the real means to get all 3 meals. And since they were out of school, they were on their own. And so I had the responsibility with some other friends of mine that we would just make sure that the food was delivered to the children, how many children got the food. And so we were in all kinds of different parts of Philadelphia and got an eye-opening experience to see that there's another side to what's going on in life. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And then after that, I picked up a summer position in Washington in Mount Rainier National Park in Washington State. And that was a great summer. That was the summer that St. Helens blew. And then from there, I got a summer position at Dinosaur National Monument in Utah. And then ever since then, I just settled down in Utah.
Wow. It's incredible, but I was speaking with somebody that is making a paradigm shift in the charity world, and he's saying that 17 million people go hungry in North America every day. 17 million.
Yeah.
40% of those are children.
Yeah, I believe it.
And you know what struck me more was that he was saying that $500 billion are donated by corporations and individuals to charities every day in North America.
Yeah.
$500 billion a year.
Well, there's
still hungry.
There's right? More charitable people out there than we know. Most of them like to keep it quiet and not be recognized for what they're doing. But it's amazing to me how many people I bump into who have an intent to be charitable, and it's pretty exciting. I mean, you got a lot of things going on in the world right now that aren't so good. And so you have to always look for the positive. And fortunately, I think there are a lot of people that are giving.
It's beautiful. I think as we evolve, more and more people are more conscious about giving, which is beautiful because, it took me 50 years to learn this one law, the law of giving and receiving.
Right.
And the law is neutral. And the law says whatever you give, you get in return.
Right.
Whether it's good or bad, you choose. But the law, it's always
exactly. Well, what's interesting about that is with the book that we're just finishing up now, it's called Get a Leg Up. And LEG is an acronym for learning, earning, and giving. And I believe in my philosophy is that when people give, whether it's small things, just smiling, saying hello, thank you, and get to that point in life where they're actually conscientious about giving, that the payback is amazing from so many different places. That's how I got to meet you, because if I didn't know about your operation and what you were doing, and then we got talking, and you invited me home, and I was just like, wow, this is another guy who's just giving, and so it's another great example of it.
Yeah, and it's a true pleasure once you live in the state of abundance, which is a state. It has nothing to do with your net worth, by the way.
Exactly.
Your net worth will come from abundant state, and that's right. Another mistake that people make, right? But I'm in the state of abundance,
right?
And that's just, why wouldn't you give? You're going to get it in return multiplied.
Right. Right. And it's kind of interesting because a friend of mine, his name's Doug Lennick, and for years he was teaching us that happiness is a state of mind and not a state of affairs.
Mhm.
And sometimes we forget that. People will say, I will be happy if the following happens. Well, you can be impoverished and living in a community that just doesn't have a lot of things, but absolutely content because you don't know what's out there.
Mhm.
And so it's that state of mind that we always have to focus on to make sure that we are in control of whether or not we're happy. And that really comes from giving.
Yeah, it's true, and that's the secret. Because when you get, you enjoy, right? Of course, you enjoy. You
Absolutely.
get, especially when you get material possessions, you have a higher level of comfort. That doesn't mean happiness,
Right.
right? For me, the
Yeah,
only thing that is really fulfilling is when I give and when I receive the love in return. It's amazing.
right. But and sometimes it's to me when I'm giving, it's exciting to just watch somebody else propel and somebody else move forward with their life. And knowing that you made a difference. And it may be a small difference, but you made a difference. And a lot of these small acts of giving and caring about other people can make, that's what can change the environment that we're sometimes in.
And it's funny because sometimes life drags you down, right? Like you get problems, especially if you're running a business
Right.
or in your in day-to-day jobs. And then now I know that everything is vibrations and we're vibrating. We're energetic beings, like our bodies are atoms that are 99% nothing inside, but just energy vibrating.
Right.
So when I get down into problems, I forget that I need to think with my heart, not only with my brain. So you know what I
Right.
did? I went and got myself a necklace that has a heart shape.
Oh, way to
So I
go.
remembered, go back to my
Yep.
heart,
Yeah. Well, and you're right, because, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you are usually the people that I know that are entrepreneurs are pretty high energy, pretty committed, very well driven. And that's the good news. The bad news is that you're so driven sometimes that you get in focus of the task and not the human element. And so, it's the type of thing that sometimes I have to slow down to see that I need to pay closer attention to what makes me happy.
Exactly. Manny, how long did you last on your first job, and what do you do after?
Well, after I was working for the National Park Service, I got married and we started having some children. And I realized that I wanted to go into a different area. And I was recruited to work with a company that was in financial planning. And so I've been financial advisors for 36 years now with the same company. And I've learned a lot. I've worked with a lot of successful people and people that would put their arms around me and teach me things, a lot of mentors. And that was able to move me from where I was to a completely different world.
That's beautiful. Now, that must have been very hard because I know in the financial advisory world, you have to get your own clients. You're basically on your own. You make as much
Exactly.
money as you can, as clients that you can advise properly. How do you start it? Because this is the one thing that entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs are most afraid of. Okay, I quit my job. I'm going to sell this or create services for people. How do I actually find my clients?
Well, back in the day, when I started back in 1985, we would do local events. We would send information out to people if they wanted to learn more about retirement planning or estate planning or different areas. They would write down their name and number, and then we would follow up. When I moved to Salt Lake City, I didn't know anybody. And so that compounded the problem. Usually, if you're an entrepreneurial person and you have connections, that's going to make the journey easier. But if you're starting from scratch, it's going to be a little bit more uphill. And so, that's how we started. Now you're in a position where you really can't even reach out to people unless they're referred. Right now, my business is 100% referrals, mostly from clients and also CPAs. A lot of CPAs will introduce me to clients. And so, it's a different world from where we started. But I think that when someone is starting as an entrepreneur, especially somebody young, and this is why I told you about the book, was the fact that I learned so much over the last 35 years, 36 years, I wish I knew a lot of that stuff when I was 25, because I'd be on a different trajectory. My plane would be differently. And so it's the kind of thing that sometimes you just have to go with the flow, and realize that. But so then I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to write a book, and I want to get this book to younger people, especially ones that are interested in being self-employed or have entrepreneurship. And then I'm going to introduce them to models that I applied in my life and have made a big difference in my ability to do the things I want to do. And so in the book, I have exercises and different models for the students to try and experiment with. And then if they apply principles like having a purpose statement in life, having value system that you identify as values, and then putting your behaviors around those values and driving the values and results based on your behavior and not your dreams. And so that's what triggered this whole process, was that I knew someday I wanted to write a book. And then, as you know, we're both members of the Strategic Coach. And there was an emphasis made by Dan Sullivan. He said every entrepreneur should write a book.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. Instead of waiting until after I retire, why don't I just write one now? And had no idea how to write a book or what it meant to do that. And so I had to learn that process. But I want to get a message out to young people that there's a lot of room for hope. There's a lot of great things that happen when you're entrepreneurial. You just have to look at the silver lining and not allow setbacks to hold you back. A setback is just a learning opportunity. You learn from it and then you move on.
Number one, thank you so much, because by you putting the effort into putting all your knowledge into a book, you're blessing the next generation, which is what this whole.
And I love that.
Right? I
love that. And I've said to my family that, if I was to pass away today with my last breath, I'd know that at least I tried to teach things that I've learned to make it easier for somebody else. And that's pretty satisfying. Yeah. At least for me, it's very satisfying.
Do you have a name for the book already?
Get a Leg Up.
Nice.
So again, LEG stands for learning, earning, and giving. And my philosophy has been, I've had a friend of mine who coached me through the process of identifying my values. And then that led to identifying my purpose. Because how many times do people wake up in the morning and they say, all I got to do is this, and that. And they really don't have any purpose for the day. Or they really don't say, well, I'm going to do this because I value this. And for example, autonomy is something that's real important for entrepreneurial people. They have to have that independence. And so for me, I actually track every week, what have I done this week that supports the value of autonomy? And that allows you to kind of reinforce in your mind, am I going down the right path? So instead of letting life happen to you, you got more control of life.
That's beautiful. And one chapter in one book, one golden nugget could change your life forever. It has done for me several times.
Absolutely.
You read a book and you are 10 years ahead. You are 10 years ahead if you apply the lessons. Right?
And that's where the learning piece comes in. I think, again, entrepreneurial people enjoy learning. In some of the classes that I've been just absolutely amazed as to how many books entrepreneurial people will read from different topics and just have a thirst for learning. And that's an important piece. And then obviously earning, we have to earn our way through life. And like you and I talked about, when we're going to college and you're taking care of yourself, it's not easy because you have to go work and go to school. But still, you are becoming a stronger person for it. And doors will open and opportunities will open. But you're right. You can read a chapter in one book and it could change your life.
It's for sure. When is your book expected to come out?
We're thinking, we're targeting June of this year, of 2022. But we're in the process and we're just kind of we're making sure that the quality is there, that the message is right. And so we just finally got our manuscript completed. And so now we should be getting into the next phase and then launch. We're hoping we can launch June, July, and look forward to that. And I'm excited about it. We're actually starting a company around it so that if someone reads the book and wants to have coaching or wants to learn more, they can have a support system to help them move along. And so if you would have asked me 2 years ago that I'd be doing this, I would have said no. And then Dan Sullivan was saying, well, entrepreneurs should write a book because you've got so much to give.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, he's right. I should get on and just get on with it.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, you know what that process is like because you've written books and obviously you've done well with it. And again, that's what's exciting about getting to know someone like you, because I know your intent is to do good, to make a positive difference. And I want to be around people like that. Those are the people I want to associate with.
But that's all the reason that, don't get me wrong, I wasn't this way all the time. I was so trapped into the greed and amassing wealth. But once I got there, I saw how empty my life was.
Yeah.
So that got me to a path of learning. I had a huge crisis because once you reach the top, you think either I keep moving because you never have enough, right? Because there's always people more rich than you.
Mm-hmm.
Either so I keep going and I keep feeling more empty, or I figure out what it is it really is that makes me happy. Because money wasn't it. And status wasn't it. Ego wasn't it.
Well, and success is defined so many different ways by so many different people. And I think that the word success is a very personal word. And one person's vision of success may not be the next person's vision of success. I know plenty of school teachers that applied their entire career to teaching in kindergarten and first grade, and they're very happy and content people. They've retired from their occupation. And so the wealth part of it, if that's important to you and part of your formula, I believe that that's what you should go after. And people like you and I are very competitive with ourselves, and so achieving is an important part of it. And wealth and achieving wealth is just another benchmark. But you can achieve happiness and say, I had a successful life, and someone could have all the wealth in the world and not be a happy person. So, it comes down to how do you define success? And that's the important piece. And that's one of the exercises that we have in the book, is that what's important is your definition of success, and let it evolve, let it change. Because in your case, you changed. You saw there was something missing, and you said, wait a second, I got to make a change. And so that's the important piece. But you're in a better level now to help others, not just from being the kind person that you are, but making a difference financially in the world for those that don't have. So to me, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that.
When I was going through this crisis, my dad still was alive. And one day, just to cheer me up, he told me, son, always remember this. It's better to cry in a limousine than to cry in a bicycle.
Yeah. And that's true. And it's kind of interesting because my dad, what he taught me was he didn't like his job. He had a job, blue collar job, and he worked it for his whole career. And he was not a happy guy. And when I was going to college and I was telling him that I was interested in going to college, he said to me, no matter what you do in life, make sure that it's something that you enjoy, because you're going to be doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy it, you got to get out of it and you have to go in a different direction. And unfortunately, sometimes we all think that, I don't like this job, but I'm going to put up with it. That's a signal to change. That's where you have to sit there and say, wait a second, I need to make some changes. And how do I go about doing that? And that's,
you're completely right. And this life is so short.
Oh, absolutely.
And it seems like time is accelerating, isn't it?
Before, absolutely.
Remember, Christmas came by very slow. Now it's like here.
Right. Oh, and I agree. It's interesting because I was looking back and I was talking to my wife about the fact that I was in this business for 36 years, and I was just like, I never would have in a million years thought I'd be 36 years, and I love what I do, and I want to continue to do it. That's a different mindset compared to someone who says, I can't wait till I retire. I can't wait till I retire. You know, it's a whole different kind of mindset. And so you want to get in whatever business someone is in, especially if you're an entrepreneurial, you really need to get into that style of saying, what is it that I'm passionate about? Mm-hmm. And what is it that makes me excited? And then put the energy behind that instead of just saying, well, you know, I got to raise a family and I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's setting you up for a miserable time, you know? So, you know, and it happens to a lot of people. It's not uncommon.
You know, the first thing that I teach my kids is don't be afraid of change, because that when you're afraid of change, it boxes you in something that you don't like. And you're like, okay, I got to do it anyways. And you have a miserable life.
Exactly.
Before you know, you are 50, 60 years old.
Exactly.
Like, what have I done with my life?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. And that's why, you know,
again, right?
You know, you think about your wish lists in life. You know, I wish I could be a certain person. Well, for example, I could tell you that I'm never going to be a plastic surgeon. You know, it's just not going to happen. My aptitude is just not there. And, you know, I think about clients that I work with and their children are in medical school or finished residency, and the application and the amount of commitment that it takes to do that is unbelievable. And so they need to have an appetite as well as aptitude. They need to be hungry for it. And their attitude is everything. You know, if you have the right attitude and you adjust, like you're saying, if you can adjust and are willing to be flexible, then you'll get yourself on the right path. But if you're not willing to adjust, game over.
And you know, the only thing that is really stable and never changes is change itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change is the only constant, right?
Yep,
everything
absolutely.
changes, especially
I used to fight change when I was younger. Again, you know, I grew up in a blue collar environment, and now I live in a white collar world. You know, and so I've been on both sides of that story. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a white collar, the probability that you're going to stay white collar is high. If you're blue collar, the probability that you're going to stay blue collar is high. And so to dream across that line, you know, whichever direction you want to go in is pretty challenging. But once you get that and you get the fever for it, you got to go for it, you know. And like I said earlier, you've got to make mistakes. People are going to I make mistakes all day long. And I tell my staff that, you know, sometimes they'll say, oh, gee, I made this mistake and I feel bad about it. And I'm like, so what? You know, we just have to learn from that and move on.
Yeah.
And that's a journey. That's a journey.
You either win or learn.
Right.
There is no mistakes unless you don't learn the lesson and you keep repeating the same mistake over and over again.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And then hopefully you have somebody with you, because I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people that would come up to me and say, have you thought about doing this differently? And I was like, well, what does that mean? And then they'd share with me some ideas. And obviously there's a lot of coaching relationships you can have, studying and reading, and then having someone who's a mentor, someone who actually puts their arm around you and says, I want to help you because I think you've got potential. And if you're open to that learning, oh, some beautiful things are going to happen. Mm-hmm. You just have to be sure that you're working with someone that you can trust. Yeah. Someone that's not going to lead you down the wrong path. Mm. But if you look around you, if you want to say, I want to open a bakery shop. Well, when you're young, why don't you start working at a bakery shop and tell the owner exactly. And then tell the owner, hey, someday I'd like to have my own bakery. That owner is they're going to say, I'm going to teach you some things, mm-hmm. you know, and eventually if you decide that you want to stay in that and do that, you'll be able to do it.
You know, I used to have a partner, was a client partner, and he grabbed one of his best friends out of being an electrical engineer, and he got him to learn how to manage software projects. And he did an internship for free for one whole year. He worked for free for one whole year, and now he's his life is changed. He's
Yep.
making so much more money. He's so happy. And he said, David, that was cheaper than going back to university.
And you know,
Right?
and it's kind of interesting. My senior year in college, I had to do an internship, and I wanted to do an internship at the Grand Canyon. I had a counselor in school who said, no one's ever done an internship at the Grand Canyon. And I was like, well, somebody needs to start.
Mhm.
And so I not only paid tuition to go to Penn State, I also had to pay for the flights. I had to pay for my food and my lodging, and I was a volunteer. Okay. So I was paying to get an internship instead of, a lot of people are looking for internships and saying, well, gee, I need to get paid. Well, if you need to get paid, you may need to have another job to bring in the money. But at the same time, you could be paying someone to help you with a mini internship. And you could learn, like you said, so much that it just changes your world.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to make the sacrifices. And that's where some people, they decide, I'm not willing to do that. And that's okay. But entrepreneurial people that are successful, that's just not the way they think.
Exactly. No, for sure. Brother, thank you so much for your time. One
Oh,
last
thank
question
you.
before I don't want to abuse your time.
Oh, you're great. No, thank you, David.
Tell me, if you had access to a billboard in the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
Can you ask that question again?
Sure. Imagine you have access to write a message on a billboard that
Okay.
is by the busiest highway on earth. What would you
I
write?
would say learn, earn, and give.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Just let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
For sure, brother. If people would like to find out more about your book, your financial services company, where can they find you?
Well, the book is going to be on Amazon. Again, I wish I could tell you a release date. I don't have that. I do have a phone number. If anyone wants to contact us, it's in the United States, area code 385. No, excuse me. Yeah, 385-495-5324. Again, 385-495-5324. And, and if we can help them in any way to guide them, if they're on some kind of journey to learn, to become entrepreneurial, and they're just looking for some ideas, we'll try our best to help them out.
Beautiful. Manny, thank you so much for your time again. On behalf of my audience and myself, you have made me a better person with this amazing podcast episode.
Well, and it goes both ways. And I'm so grateful that I've had the chance to get to know you. And I hope our paths continue to cross in the future.
For sure they will, brother. Forever.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of the week. Cheers.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmansilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.